Hello everyone, this is me Sharon and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to crochet this particular sanitizer bottle holder. This one is quite tall, but I'm going to show you the smaller one. So I'm going to use the same pattern. Maybe I'll just work one layer of tulips. This one is different from the ones that I've made before. And ito yung mas malalaking tulip stitches kasi nga ano siya, puff stitch yung pinaka flower niya. And also dadagdagan pa natin ng stitches yung pinaka leaves niya. Instead of just adding double crochets, chain 1 and double crochet, ang gagawin natin is double that. So ipapakita ko sa inyo. Also, ito, nabili ko to sa Tiangge. So, you can buy this for 16 pesos sa Novo or New Star kung meron sa inyong ganon. Maganda siya for giveaways. Kung kunyari, I think magbibigay kayo ng mga souvenirs. And pinaka-essential pa naman these days ang paggamit ng sanitizer or alcohol kasi nga mas effective pa yan kaysa sa paggamit ng mask as far as I know, kasi ang sabi is syempre kailangan laging malinis ang ating mga kamay whenever we go, saka isa yan sa mga essentials natin whenever we go out aside from using the face mask. So I bought this for 25 pesos and this one 16 pesos. Okay naman din yung brand niya, and if you're thinking about giving this away especially to your classmates, if you're a student, matutuwa sila kasi nga this is one of the essentials that you have to bring along with you whenever you go out. So without further ado, let's get started. So for this project, I'll be using a lanolin yarn. This one is 4-ply untwisted. Kaya sinabing untwisted kasi hindi siya katulad ng ibang yarns na naka-twist. Sila ay hindi. And pag nakita ko siya noon sa hanger market, nung nirewind nila is pinagsasama lang yung 4 na strands na galing sa 4 na cones. So imagine, sa isang cone is ganito lang kanipis, and then ang gagawin nila is papadaanin nila sa yarn holder, tapos sabay-sabay silang winawind para maging isang ganito, maging isang strand. So usually yung mga gumagawa ng gradient yarn, nakikita ko kino-combine nila yung ibang color, para hindi ko alam kung paano nila ginagawa, pero nagagawa nilang gradient yarn ang ganitong klase. So anyway guys, let's start. By the way, this stitch is in multiples of 3, and I'm going to start my stitch with 6 single crochets. So first, let's make a magic ring. And also I'm using a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. So you can use any yarn of your choice, and using a yarn compatible with the hook that you're gonna use. So for me, ang pinaka-compatible na hook for this kind of yarn is 3.5 kasi hindi siya masyadong nagkakaroon ng gap. Yan. So kung makikita nyo, wala siya masyadong gap. And kung kunyari gusto niya pang mas tight ang tension, or ayaw niyo may nakikitang mga holes dyan, you can use a smaller hook for that. So ganun lang yan. Kasi ako loose ako na mag-crochet, that's why I'm using 3.5. So make a magic ring, and then the next thing is we're going to chain 1. And then 6 single crochets in the ring. So, kung tinatamad kayo or hindi nyo gusto ang magic ring, pwede ring mag-chain 4 na lang and then slip stitch doon sa pinaka first na chain na ginawa nyo, and then after slip stitching, yun, nakagawa kayo ng ring, and then mag-work kayo ng 6 single crochets. Pero ang maganda pa sa paggamit ng magic ring is may higpitan nyo siya at walang butas sa gitna. 4, 5, 6. So, hilahin natin tong yarn tail para mawala yung butas sa gitna. So, wala na siyang gap. And then, dun sa pinaka first na single crochet, i-slip stitch natin. So, we're going to slip stitch into the first single crochet made. Now, for round 2, we're gonna chain 1, and then we're going to work 2 single crochets into the same stitch. So we're gonna work 2 single crochets into every stitch around. So ang total ng stitches, 12 stitches. So nag-dumoble ng 6. So every time that we move on to the next round, nag-i-increment or nag-a-add tayo ng 6 stitches. So we will just continue this hanggang sa makarating tayo dun sa pinaka last stitch. And then after that, makikita nyo naman, itong chain 1 na to, hindi counted as a stitch. So, part pa rin siya ng first stitch, which is the first single crochet na nagawa natin. So, yun ang ibig sabihin doon. So, we're gonna work a slip stitch in there, and round 2 is done. Now, for round 3, chain 1, 1 single crochet into the same stitch, and then into every second stitch, that is where we're gonna do our increase. Ang tinatawag na increase ay yung mag-a-add ka ng isang stitch dito sa pangalawa. So into every second stitch, 1, 2, dito sa pangalawa, dito tayo lagi mag-a-add ng increase or 2 single crochets. So 1 single crochet into the next, and then 2 single crochets into every second stitch around. So para sa round 3 na ito, ang increase ay laging nasa pangalawang stitch. So ganyan tayo mag-i-increase. So bale, pag binilang mo siya, round 1 we have 6 single crochets, round 2 12 single crochets. Now when you add 6, it's gonna be 18. So, ang total number ng stitches around would be 18 stitches. So, ganun lang yon para magkaroon tayo ng flat circle. So, hindi siya magka-curl as long as tama yung paglagay natin ng increase. So, minsan hindi ko na binibilang kasi sanay na ako, but then kailangan yung first 2 rounds tama yung counting. Otherwise, pag nagkamali ka ng counting sa first and second round, makikita mo kung saan ka nagkamali. Or minsan mahirap ma-detect eh. Kaya you have to be really careful when it comes to starting your round. If it's a 6, 12, and then add 6, 18, and then add 6 hanggang sa dumating tayo dun sa size na kailangan natin for the project. So, kung nag-start ka ng 1 and then 2 single crochets into the second stitch, so dapat, once you end the round, dapat 2 single crochets sa pinaka-last. So, pwede naman mabago. Pwede nyong umpisahan ng 2 single crochets and then 1 single crochet into the next for as long as pag natapos yung round na to, ang pinaka last stitch is 1 single crochet instead of 2. So, pwedeng mag-interchange yung increase for as long as you have come up with the same number of the total amount of stitches. Dapat 18 stitches around. And then, always pag kino-close ang round, slip stitch into the first single crochet made. Yan. So, we have 3 rounds already. So, minsan hindi tayo sure kung tama na nga ba tong size na to. So, we can get the bottom of this bottle that we're trying to make a project with. Like, kunyari, titingnan mo kung yan. So, minsan, umuubra naman siya. Minsan, pag stretchy yung yarn, pwede na yung increase natin is hanggang round 3 lang. Pero kung after nito is nag 1 single crochet into every stitch ka na and then hindi siya umasya, then that's the time na pwede mo i-frog and then balikan mo na lang. So maybe add 1 more increase round. So, in here, ang ginawa ko is 1, 2, 3, and then up until round 4, that's where I did the increase. So, I stopped increasing after that. So, since they have the same size, I will just do the same. So, chain 1 single crochet into the same stitch, and this time yung pag-increase natin is into every 3rd stitch. So, ganyan ang pag-increase natin until makabalik tayo dun sa last na stitch na katabi ng first single crochet. So, ganyan tayo mag-i-increase para sa round na to. Into every 3rd stitch, we're going to work an increase. So, just repeat the pattern until we get back around. Now, we did about 4 rounds and now we're gonna stop increasing. Nakuha na natin yung size na kailangan natin for this bottle holder. So, ang kailangan is at least meron siyang allowance na 1 round of single crochets. But it all depends on the yarn that you're using. Itong yarn na gamit ko is hindi naman siya masyadong stretchable. So, that's the reason why I'm adding 1 more round. Now, for the next 4 rows or 4 rounds, we're just going to work 1 single crochet into every stitch. So, we're going to chain 1 single crochet into the same stitch, 1 single crochet into every stitch around. So, ganun lang ang gagawin natin. We're going to do that for 3 more rounds, or depending on where you want to add your first layer of tulips. So I'm gonna keep on working single crochets until I have 4 rounds of round 5. So once we get back around and I have about 4 rounds of 1 single crochet into every stitch, ngayon is i-close na natin yung round. So work a slip stitch on top of the first single crochet made. So depende sa inyo kung saan nyo gustong maglagay ng layer ng tulip, pero after 4 single crochets maglalagay na tayo. So now I'm just gonna chain 1 and then fasten off. So ang next step is maglalagay tayo ng mga leaves or mga dahon for the tulip stitch. So yun ang pinaka first part pag gumagawa ng tulip. And I'm gonna use this one. It's a green or apple green na Indofill yarn. This is also 100% acrylic. They're all the same. They're all 100% acrylic, 4 strands or 4 ply, untwisted. So, mas maganda pag sa isang project is isang klase lang ng yarn ang gamit. So, for this one, I'm going to work a chain 2. So, pasok ko lang yung hook dito sa pinaka first na stitch kung saan tayo nag slip stitch. And then, we're going to insert the new yarn. So, ganyan ako mag-insert. Pwede nyo namang i-hide yung tails or maybe para ma-secure, tie both the tails at the back. Yan. So, after securing the tails, you can chain 2, yarn over, and then into the same stitch, we're going to work a double crochet. So, ang ginagawa natin is 2 double crochets together. Chain 1, and then into the same stitch, yarn over, into the same stitch, we're going to work half finished double crochet. So, ibig sabihin hindi natin tatapusin yung double crochet. Instead, mag-yarn over ulit, pasok sa same stitch, and then pull up a loop. So, ngayon, we're going to work or pull through 2 loops. So, meron na tayong dalawang half-finished or hindi tapos na double crochet. Ngayon, yarn over and then pull all 3 loops. So, ganyan ang pattern natin for the leaves. And then, we're going to skip 2 stitches. 1, 2. And then, into the 3rd stitch, that is where we're gonna work another stitch. So, after yarning over, insert the hook into the 3rd stitch, and then yarn over and pull just 2 loops, and then yarn over and into the same stitch, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull all 2 loops. So we have 3 loops, yarn over and pull all 3, and then we're going to chain 1 in between. And then we're just going to repeat that one more time into the same stitch. So into the same stitch, make 2 more 2 double crochets together. There. So we'll repeat this pattern until we get back around. So skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and into the 3rd, 2 double crochets together. Chain 1 and then repeat. So after cutting off the yarn, we will get back to the white color kasi we're going to make a foundation before adding the tulip stitches. So you need to get back to the white yarn first, and then we are going to work a stitch. So in here I'm going to work a stitch in between the 2 leaves. So in here, this is the middle of the 2 leaves. This is where I'm going to start working with my first double crochet, which is chain 3, and then chain 2, for the chain space, yarn over, and then in between these two leaves, this one, that is where we're gonna work our double crochet. So we're just going to repeat that. Chain 2 for the chain space, yarn over, and then in between the leaves we're gonna work a double crochet. Chain 2, yarn over, and then in between the leaves we will be working this way. So continue until you get back around. Okay, so nasa last stitch na ako. Ang gagawin ko ngayon is i-chain 2 and then make sure na masecure yung likod nito. So mas maganda kung itatali nyo muna. And then maybe you can weave in the ends later. Now what I'm gonna do is, to end this round, I'm going to work a slip stitch on top of the first double crochet made, which is the chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Make sure you have 2 chains in between. So importante yan kasi for later, because that is where we're going to continue working in single crochets. So this is like the foundation for the next row of single crochets that we're gonna make. So we're gonna end this round after slip stitching by chaining 1, and then we're going to cut off the yarn. Now we're ready to finish the tulip stitch. So to do that, we're gonna use the color yellow. So you can use whatever color of the tulip that you like, and I'm choosing the yellow color. And then insert the hook in between those 2 double crochets, which will be the leaves of our tulip. So that's how I add this color, and then chain 1 to bring up the yarn, and then we're gonna make a puff stitch, and we're gonna work the loops loosely, yarn over into the same chain 1 space. We're going to make a big loop, 1, 2, 3, and then yarn over again to pull all the loops together, chain 1 to secure, and we made 1 puff stitch, and we need 2 more of this. So yarn over into the same chain 1 space, work 1, 2, and 3, and then pull all the loops, chain 1 to secure, and then we're gonna repeat for the last time. So 1, 2, 3, and then pull all the loops, chain 1, and then we're gonna make a long loop first, and then we will go back into the very first puff stitch that we've made on top of this puff stitch, the very first one that we've made, and then we go back to this loop here and pull to make the tulip. And that's not the end, we're still going to chain 1, and there's a hole that we have created after slip stitching there. So we're going to work 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3. So we're done with the tulip stitch. Now we're just going to repeat that into every leaf. So to repeat that, we're going to yarn over and then insert into the chain 1 space, 1, 2, 3, yarn over and pull all 3, chain 1, 2, 3. Let me do that again. 1, 2, 3. Then 1, 2, 3. Chain 1 to secure. After that, get back to the very first of the 3 puff stitch that you've made, and then make a slip stitch in there, and you can see that there's a hole that we have created. After chaining 1, get back to that hole and work 3 single crochets. 2, 3. So we will keep repeating that into every V stitches, or into every chain 1 space, until we get back around. Alright, so once you get back around, you're gonna work a slip stitch on top of the very first single crochet made. So dito yan. And hindi na natin kailangan yung color yellow, so we're going to chain 1 and then fasten off. So ganyan din ang gagawin natin if we're going to add more layers of tulip. So at least it has a maybe 4 rounds of single crochet gap in between para mas maganda. Kasi medyo malalaki siya kaysa dun sa mga regular tulip stitches na ginagawa natin. So now we will go back to the white yarn. Now we're going to go back with the main color, which is the white yarn, and then you can start by going through this stitch in between the tulips, and then go through this double crochet in here. So ito yung double crochet. So yan, kailangan you need to catch those 2 stitches, and then you're going to insert the white yarn, chain 1, and then work a single crochet into the same stitch. So we're gonna do that, and this will count as the first single crochet. And then into every second, or into every 2 chains, this is a chain 2 here, so that is where we're gonna work our 2 single crochets. And then we're going to work a single crochet in between these 2 tulips here, and then into the double crochet of the white yarn. So there's a double crochet at the back, work a single crochet in there. So we will just repeat this pattern. Alright, so I only have 2 stitches left, so I'm gonna work 1 more because I already have 1 here, and then we're going to work a slip stitch on top of the very first single crochet. So natapos na, make sure na you have 24 single crochets around, kasi it should still be in multiples of 3. So bakit may mga multiples of 3? Kasi dito natin ma-determine kung gaano ba kalaking stitch na kailangan para makapag-produce tayo ng tulip stitch, especially for beginners. So 24 stitches around is in multiples of 3. Yun. So, kailangan hindi magbabago yung number of stitches kahit na nakagawa na tayo ng tulip stitch. Because we might need to work more layers of tulip stitch in the next round. Especially if we're going to use a bigger bottle. Like in my case, I have a bigger bottle that needs 3 layers of tulip stitches. So you can just do 1 if you like, but if you want to add more colors, then you can add a few more layers of tulip stitches. So I'm using this bottle for this one. I'm gonna use this one. This will be smaller for this bottle. So maybe I'll just do 1 layer of tulip stitch. But if you're gonna use a taller or bigger bottle, all you have to do is, after working this round, work 3 more rounds of single crochet. So in here, I think I did 1, 2, 3, 4. So I did 4 rounds of single crochets after I repeated another layer of tulip stitches. So you can do the same, or you can work a few more rounds and then add the tulip stitches. So make sure that you keep the total of amount of stitches correct. So I ended up with still 24 stitches in total. So now what we're gonna do is we will just keep repeating by working chain 1 and then 1 single crochet in the same stitch, and then work 1 single crochet into each stitch until we get back around. And we need to have 24 stitches around, and we're gonna do more rounds. So what I usually do is I try to fit this bottle inside and see how many stitches I need more. So in the next clip, I'm going to show you how many rounds I have made, and then after that we're going to make this strap. So this is what it looks like after if it's on the bottle, and hindi ko na siya i-decrease yung stitch around this one kasi baka mahirap naman siyang ipasok. So remember, yung size nito is much smaller, pero syempre pag ipapasok mo yung bottle sa loob, so the opening should be at least the same size as this one from the bottom. So the next step would be, we're going to be adding the straps. So since we have 24 stitches around, so make sure it is 24, or before you do that, make sure to weave in all the ends first. So maybe I'll weave in all the ends para hindi ko na siya babalikan later. Yan, so tapos na siya. So ito na itsura niya after weaving in all the ends, and then baligtarin ulit natin. So right now, sabi ko nga, we should have 24 stitches around. To end the round, we're going to work a slip stitch on top of the very first single crochet made. Now, so 24, and since we have 24 stitches in total, we're going to do the strap, and to do that, we're going to divide 24, which is the total amount of stitches, by 4. So that's gonna be 6. So what we're gonna do is, first we're going to chain up the short loop. So say for example, you're not sure of how the loop should look like and what's the length that you need to make the loop. So what I did at first was to try to fit the bottle in, and then ilalagay ko siya dito. So, para mag-fit ng maayos. So, ganyan dapat siya. Hindi siya maluwang, hindi rin siya masyadong masikip, para madali rin siyang ilagay na ganyan. Kasi, if you're going to put that inside your bag, you're going to put this first. Yan. And then this will lock the strap para hindi siya mahulog. So that's going to make it secure. Yun. So ganun ang gagawin natin. So para tayong gumawang dalawang straps, but only this one is shorter and this one is longer. So what I usually do is I put the bottle inside, and then I'm gonna chain up until I get to the length I need. So let's say up to here, and then I'm going to skip 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Ayun, pang 6. So from there, we're going to work a slip stitch there. So what I usually do is I try to fit it first to see if it's just enough or just the right fit. So I think it's the right fit, because we're still gonna get back around and work another row of slip stitches. So now I'm going to continue working slip stitches into each of the next 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now into the next stitch, after working a slip stitch, I'm going to chain longer this time, probably 50. I'll do chain 50. Alright, so I did 40. I think 40 is enough. And then after that, I'm going to skip 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and into the 6th stitch I will work a slip stitch. So we made a longer strap on this side. So just continue slip stitching until you get back around. So once you get to the loop here, we will keep on slip stitching until we get to each of those chains in the loop, because you want to make the strap sturdier. And this is actually optional. If your yarn is going to be thicker than mine, then you don't have to slip stitch around for the second time. I will just repeat working slip stitches until I get back around. So once you get back around, all you have to do is work your last slip stitch and then fasten off, and then we're gonna weave in the ends. There you go. So ready na siya. So maganda tong alternative if ever you don't like the drawstring. So you just make this one handle longer than the other, and then what we usually do is we put this long strap over this short one, and then this short one will be placed here on the other side. So, ganyan siya malalak doon sa holder natin. Kaya hindi siya basta-basta mahuhulog. Yan. So, if you're gonna take a look, pwede mo rin siyang, ang purpose nito is malalagay mo siya sa mga bags. You can attach this to your tote bags, and you don't have to put it inside. You just have to hang it around your bag handle para hindi hassle, para madali mo siyang makita. And usually, diba, these days, using sanitizer is essential, and we have to sanitize our hands everywhere, every time we get out of the house, we touch things. And also, we have to prevent ourselves from touching our face too much, kasi nga that is the source of the virus, by touching things, and then we touch our face. So aside from wearing face mask, we have to also have these essential these days. So it's either you can use this pattern to only make one layer of tulip stitch, but if you have a taller bottle, you can do 3 layers if you want. So this one is great to make as souvenirs, so you can use double crochets instead of single crochets. So if you have a bigger project, let's say for example you're gonna turn this one into a bottle holder, all you need to do is start with a stitch in multiples of 3. So let's say for example you can start with 6 stitches. It could be single crochets, half double crochets, or double crochets kung gusto nyong mas mabilis ang process para lumaki yung project. Of course, when you're crocheting in small stitches like single crochets, mas matagal na project, especially kung kunyari malaking bottled water ito. But of course, I would recommend, if you want a fine stitches, I would want a single crochets. I would want it done in single crochets instead of double crochets, kasi malalaki yung gap niya, yung butas niya. Except when you're gonna make a stitch like double crochet, tapos one hook smaller than the recommended size sa yarn. So, para sumikip yung mga stitches niya, mas maganda yan. Ganon. So, what I like about this stitch is, nakikita nyo naman, medyo bulky yung mga tulip stitches niya. Mas attractive siya, hindi siya flat. And you can play with different colors. I'm sure it will look good if you have gradient yarns. And you can also use cotton. Kasi for me, kasi ang experience ko sa cotton is, over time, it stretches out. So, yun ang kaibahan. Unlike when you're using acrylic, I have used that as a coin purse. So, nag-experiment din tayo sa mga project na nagawa natin. So, I have used a coin purse for a year. Naghimulmul siya. Kasi lagi siyang nasa loob ng bag. Of course, na gagasgasan siya. Ganon. But then, it's still okay. You can hand wash it. Pero, syempre, hindi siya mag-stretch. Yun ang napansin ko. But for cotton yarns, nag-i-stretch siya. So, this one, pag naman ilalagay nyo sa bag nyo, say for example, I have this lunch box. So, let's pretend it's a tote bag. Say for example, you're going to put this bottle hold, this sanitizer holder. So, first you need to remove the bottle, put the long loop into the short loop, tapos you're going to insert it in the bag. So this bag is, it can fit into the long loop, so which will make it secure in there. And then we're going to put the bottle inside. So there. So make sure that you put this short loop in here so that it will be secured. So ganyan siya. So hindi siya basta-basta matatanggal kasi nga naka-secure siya, nakalagay siya doon. And then pag tatanggalin nyo naman, ganun lang din. Yan. So itong Indafill yarn is naghihimulmul siya over time. But of course, you can wash and wear it. Depende kasi pag masyado siyang nagagasgas sa loob ng bag, like in my experience, if you use it as a coin purse, yun. But hindi naman sobra ang paghimulmul niya. The more lang na yan na-scratch siya sa mga nasa loob ng bag, ganon. Yun lang yung time na parang nag-iiba na siya ng texture. So, this is really great if you don't like doing the drawstring. You can just make one long strap and then short strap. And then that's it. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, do not forget to hit like, comment if you have other requests for me to make on this channel. So if you have requests, just keep on commenting down below all the requests, and hopefully I get to fulfill them one by one. So thank you guys, and hope you make one too. Bye bye.